So the next thing we're going to be having a look at is called a breadboard. Now, I know this doesn't look like bread, but it does offer quite a unique function in your Arduino project. In the fact that you don't have to solder anything, it's quite easy to use, very versatile. And before you actually solder components, you want to test it and make sure it's working. So most of your projects, you're going to be doing it on this breadboard. So I'm going to explaining to you how this works and how to get started with it. So the breadboard, as you can see here, it's quite big. So we can build quite a large project on this, and it's quite easy in the sense that you don't need to solder and you don't need any electronics experience. You can't accidentally shock yourself because we're only working with 5 volts, and it comes paired with these type of wires. Now these are known as jumper wires. Now I know they don't look like car battery jumper wires, but we call them jumper wires in the electronic industry. So these are quite useful in a sense that you can make connections on your board without needing to solder. So let me give you an example here. I'd like to bring our 5 volts over here. So let me just connect that to 5 volts. I'd like to bring our 5 volts over here. And now this entire row is connected to 5 volts. So this makes it quite easy, and once I'm done I can just remove it, and there we go. Still have it as brand new, and I can use it over and over again to try and fail on my projects as many times as I'd like. I can use components again for a future project, especially if I'm only learning. I don't want to make permanent things out of all of these projects because I'm going to need an Arduino, I'm going to need a breadboard, and that can get quite expensive. So for training purposes, this thing is great, and for prototyping. Our breadboard is wired in a specific way to make it easier for you to make connections. Let's say you want to add 5 volts to your LED. Now, you can't really fit 2 pins in here at once. So I can try as I might. The LED pin is not gonna join on the same pin where this pin is connected to. But don't worry, they've already solved this problem for us, as they've already made internal connections. So to better understand this, I'm going to open up this breadboard and I'm going to have a look at the internals of this breadboard to see how it's actually connected. So I went ahead and removed the back part of the breadboard just to show you how the internal components work together. So our breadboard actually comprises of 3 main components. We have the middle part and 2 power rails. I can go ahead and remove our power rails from our middle part. They just click into each other. Here we go. I can remove this other part as well. There we go. Okay, so there's the 2 power rails, and we have our middle component here. Now, the middle part of the breadboard is connected in another way as opposed to the power rails. Now let's turn this around and see what's going on. So as you can see here, the power rails, the top and the bottom rail are not connected to each other individually, but all of the pins that follow along the path, they are all connected to each other. So we can see here we can add 5 volts there, and we will get 5 volts in every other pin along this line. Same with ground, we can add a negative rail there, and we'll get negative all across all of these pins, as you can see, because all of them are connected. Same for this other power rail, exact same principle, but they're not connected to each other or to any of the other pins on this board. Now let's have a look at the middle board. Now the middle board is also quite simple, as it features connections from top to bottom. See that it's split in the middle of the board. I'm going to show you why that's very important and practical. And as you can see here, all of them are connected from top to bottom. So if I have a look at the breadboard, all of these pins, so this pin is connected to that pin, connected to that pin, is connected to that pin, is connected to that pin. But this pin is not connected to this pin, because these pins are all connected from bottom to top. So hope that makes sense. They are split here in half. So this is the internal workings of a breadboard, and I'm going to show you now how to use it and how and why it's practical. So the first thing I really recommend starting off to do is adding 2 power rails. This is always going to be useful in all of your projects, and I would make a nice habit out of this. So I take my 5 volts from my Arduino. There we go. There we have 5 volts. I'll connect it to any pin on this 5-volt rail. So that's the top rail. So I'm going to just connect it to our power rail. And then I'm going to be adding a ground. There we go. And the ground's going to be connected to our bottom rail right here. To make it easy, I'm going to remove these two from each other so you can see exactly what's happening. So now we have a positive line and a ground line. So one of these lines are going to be positive and the other one's going to be ground. So now we want to add, let's say for instance, an LED into the equation. So I have a little red LED here. Now what's going to happen if we connect the LED like this? So this is not going to work in a sense that it's connected to the same rail. So we're making a dead short basically. That's why they're not connected to each other. So you can always, when you add your components and they have a polarity, you're going to be adding them like this. So we can show you right here. So here are your 2 pins connected to your breadboard. If we turn this around, we'll see that the pins aren't connected to each other, but they have their own separate lines that they are running on. Now, let's say we want to add a resistor to our LED. So I have our 200 ohm resistors here. Now, this is going to be quite difficult if you want to stick to only this side. But that's why it's nice that it's isolated. I'm going to do a series connection here between, let me just make sure, I have my positive line over there. We're going to do a series connection, so we're going to jump over this bridge. So now, this rail right here, this rail on the other side, they are connected to each other, but through a resistor in series. And this is very useful, as if you added your resistor on this side, like that, it would have just made a dead short. You can also add it to another rail. We can add it like this as well, and that's also going to work. So now we have this one and that rail connected to each other in series with a resistor in between the two. And now let's add the rest of our power to our LED. We can go ahead and add the ground. So as I said, ground's this side. So as you can see here, I'm connecting our cable just below the pin of the LED. This would be the exact same as if we're connecting them to each other. I can use any of these pins as long as it's in the same column as the leg that we're trying to connect to. So let's add ground there. You see we have a little space there, but it's not going to matter. And we connect that to our ground rail. Where you might ask, anywhere you'd like. Let's for interest's sake connect it on this side. And next we have to add power. So I'm just going to add it in the same rail as we've connected our LED to. So as you can see here, same rail, just below it. And I can add it to our 5-volt line wherever I'd like. Let's just insert it there. There we go. You can see we have a nice little LED that's powered now. And you can see I can move around this 5 volts to here, there. As you can see here, all of these pins are connected to 5 volts. And now, same for the ground, all of these pins are connected to ground. I can add it whichever way I'd like, whichever side I'd like, and the LED is going to continue to turn on. Now, let's say, for instance, I'd like to move this wire to the top of my resistor. You can do that. Untangle myself here. So there we go. You can add it in any one of these holes, but as you can see here, we're not connected on the row, just beside it. So column right here, wherever you like to add it, this makes a connection between these 2 pins. So there we go. This is just the basics of breadboards. I hope everyone understands it, because next we're going to be moving on to how to turn on this LED, how LEDs work, and what are the basic principles. Thank you so much for watching our video on breadboard, guys. I really hope you guys did learn a lot. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.